Hi there, everybody, again. I hope you've enjoyed reading A Raisin in the Sun. It has so many different themes and ideas that can relate to the present time. It's a play about race, it's a play about gender, it's a play about generations, it's a play about its time, but it's also a play that's certainly applicable to modern times, even though historically it took place in 1959 or thereabouts. Many of the issues facing the African American characters in that play, such as poverty, such as where they live, neighborhoods, such as love relationships, education, all of these things, as well as pride and the American dream, are important ideas that continue to be relevant to us to this day. So, in this short video, I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes about symbols in A Raisin in the Sun. And if you read the very first slideshow that I put in week 1 about reading plays and what's important about reading plays, one of the slides is about what a symbol is. And of course, a symbol is an object. A symbol has to be a person, a place, or a thing that you can touch. It's tangible, but it's not just itself, but it has different representations based on the play, based on the text, based on what the author is saying. So, for example, in terms of symbols, a door, the dictionary definition of a door, is an object on hinges that you use to move between places. But in things we read, a door can be symbolic of exit or entrance. A door could be symbolic of freedom. A door could be symbolic of capture or being jailed in some way. So, we've been introduced to many different symbols in the play. One of them is Mama's plant. And Mama's tiny little plant that she waters, and it barely grows. And it continues to grow, although it barely gets enough sunlight in the apartment in order to maintain life. It's hanging on. It's hanging on for dear life, essentially. And that plant, I think, symbolizes her family. Her family is still together. They're still alive. But just like the plant needs sun and the apartment is very dark, their family also needs light. Their family is in a place of darkness right now. They're not stable. They're not unified. They're fighting about the money. And in the middle of the play, we even see how that fight turns into a disappearance of most of the money. The money is gone. Walter has given the money to Bobo and Willie, trusting them, thinking that Willie's going to take it and invest it, and instead he just runs off with it and steals it. And of course, as we know, Willie has also given Beneatha's schooling money to Willie. So it is unfortunate and terrible what's happened to the family. Of course, they still wind up in their home. But getting back to the plant, the idea of the plant symbolizes the family, I think, and symbolizes how they struggle. Mama, importantly, at the very end of the play, takes the plant and she walks out of the door almost to move and races back in to grab her plant. And even those around her are saying, just leave it. It's just a dumb old plant. She understands that that plant has been the representation or the symbol of her family. It's something that she's been able to keep alive all this time. And it's something that can be almost a conduit or a segue between her old life and her new life. And so going from the plant to the house, of course, the house itself becomes a symbol. The house is just not where they're moving to. The house is symbolic of a new life, of freedom, of the American dream, of happiness, of peace. The house is also symbolic of uncertainty. It's symbolic of the fractured race relations that we find through Carl Lindner and that we find through the Clybourne Neighborhood Association, which does not want them to move in there, which the idea of the house then becomes something scary, almost threatening and ominous. We know the play has something of a happy ending. They do move. They leave the house, the movers come, but we know that they're going into a very uncertain and very tenuous situation. Will their house be bombed? Will they have rocks or bombs thrown through their windows? Will they be shunned by their neighbors? All of those things are questions that we ask ourselves as they leave, even in the midst of the happy ending. So the house has lots of symbolic properties as well. I think going along with the plant is the gardening tools. In a parallel way, Travis gets his grandma a big floppy hat. Beneatha, Walter, and Ruth get her gardening tools. These tools and this hat, along with the house, along with the plant, symbolize their new life. She's going to be able to grow new life in her garden at her house that will have sun, that will have lots of room to grow, unlike the plant. So she didn't need gardening tools for that plant. That was one little plant that survived. Nobody knows how. It kept reaching toward the sun. Now that she has the sun, she can use real tools and a hat to dig in the earth to create a new life and a new home for her family. So we have the house as a symbol. We have the plant. We have the gardening tools and the hat. Those are some important symbols. Of course, the insurance check itself is a symbol. It's not just a check for $10,000, but it means many things to many different people. It means a new house, a new life. It means medical school. It means a dream for Walter, of course. It means the possibility of wealth, the possibility to not only provide for his family, but to move forward and to become a real businessman and entrepreneur like he wants. So that check is a very important symbol. As you go through the house, the play, I'm sure you'll be able to think of other symbols as well. Those are the ones that immediately come to mind as some of the most important ones. A couple of others, perhaps, that can go along with different plots or subplots or themes of the play are the Nigerian robe and records that are given to Beneatha by Assegai. And the record is not just a record to play. The robe is not just a robe to wear, but they are symbolic of her desire to find her identity and self-expression through her roots, through her heritage, through her kinship and understanding of those African roots, something that in 1959 many African Americans were shunning or not thinking of. Because, as Beneatha says, they were stuck in the mode of assimilationism. But there were plenty of other African Americans, especially educated ones, who were trying to find a sense of themselves through their heritage. And so the record and the Nigerian robes are symbolic of that. Probably going along with those would be Beneatha's hair as a symbol. She had unnatural hair before. It was straightened a certain way that was supposed to be very American, white American. And now she's wearing her hair short and natural. So she is being who she naturally is as a proud African American woman. So these are some of the symbols in the play. As you think through the play, as you go back through it and study it in preparation for our first paper, think about other symbols that might come to your mind. And I hope you have a good rest of the week. We will talk later. Bye-bye.